Welcome back. We're taking the issue of the medical story further now in medical aid. So joining us from Pretoria this morning in our studio is the CEO of the Council of Medical Schemes, CMS, to talk about the healthcare practitioners who are allegedly subjected to unfair treatment from medical aid schemes due to their race and ethnicity. A clinical social worker, Nomaefese Gatsheni, and Dr. Gumede, the chairperson of the NHCPA, were on our show on Monday morning claiming that Black and Indian medical practitioners around the country are being exploited and harassed by medical aid schemes. They also said that medical schemes refuse to pay them, and as a result of this, many medical practitioners are committing suicide due to mounting financial problems. So to bring you up to speed, yesterday, the CEO of Discovery joined us to talk about the issue, and they have absolutely flatly denied that they are involved in any such behavior. So let us now speak to Dr Sipho Kabane, and as I have said, he is the CEO of the Council of Medical Schemes. Good to have you, Dr Kabane. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Leanne, and morning to the audience.
So I'm hoping that you've managed to watch and hear some of the allegations that were made here on the program that Black and Indian healthcare practitioners are being targeted by medical aid schemes. And what are your views on this?
Leanne, as the regulator of the medical schemes and the administrators that are in question, we are actually concerned about the seriousness of these allegations. And as I speak here, I speak as a regulator which is established by law to regulate these schemes and administrators in protection of member interest. So when we hear these serious allegations, we're very concerned, and we want to outright state here that we are opposed to any conduct that includes racial profiling, ill treatment, harassment, bullying, coercion, entrapment, and blacklisting of service providers. Because all of these actions are not permissible by the Medical Schemes Act and its regulations, common law, and the Constitution itself.
So there are obviously two sides to the story, and we have to be very sensitive with this issue, because as much as there are allegations that are doing the round, and I'll call them allegations because, you know, we still need to look deeper into them, but there is also an issue that doctors do commit fraud and medical practitioners do commit fraud for self-benefit. We do know this. How much of that is actually happening? Let's talk to the fraud first before we talk to the other side of the story.
Yeah, the end of February, beginning of March, the Council for Medical Schemes actually brought the entire industry into an anti-fraud, waste and abuse summit here. And what we presented there was that out of the total claims that are made to medical schemes, up to 15% of them are associated with fraud, waste, and abuse. And if you consider that the amounts paid through claims here to the tune of 172 billion, so you are looking at a problem that is of the order of 22 billion rands here per annum.
So, I mean, it's massive. I mean, we had the CEO of Discovery in studio with us, and he spoke to the amounts that are under discussion, and again, you've reiterated them. But Discovery has vehemently denied any allegations of racism against Black and Indian healthcare practitioners, and basically said the audits are based on fraudulent behavior only, nothing to do with race. Talk to us about what you know about the rate at which healthcare practitioners are not being paid and the reports that you have gotten from them. I mean, what is your role in all of this?
Yeah, Leanne, as regulators, we've got about 78 schemes, 39 administrators, and we don't have daily, sight of the hundreds and thousands of claim transactions that are processed by these entities. But where people have complained to us here that they rendered a legitimate service and provided an account in line with what is outlined in Section 59 and Regulation 5 and 6 of the Act, and that the scheme is refusing to pay, we make rulings, in favor of service providers in those instances, whilst being aware also of what this very same legislation provisions empower schemes to do here. What the Section 59 allows here, it says schemes need to pay accounts that are rendered to them within 30 days. And if there are any administrative errors on the claim itself, they need to indicate to the member and the service provider, and those issues get cleared. And then the claim needs to be paid within 60 days. But then it goes on to say that once a claim has been paid and the administrator and scheme through its own systems, they are able to detect that there's been an indication of fraud or a claim that's not valid.
Yeah.
They're empowered to call in the service provider and have that engagement here.
Okay.
In order to clear all of those things.
Yeah. So
but our expectations here is that once fraud has been detected, there should not be any negotiation of any sort. That matter should then be referred to the law enforcement agencies in line with the Prevention of Fraud Act here.
Yeah.
If there's unprofessional and unethical conduct, that matter should be referred by the schemes and administrators to the Health Professional Council of South Africa.
And currently, is that not being done?
Currently, that's not being done. So all of these acts that are contained in the allegations are actually not permissible by the very act that regulates those entities.
Yeah.
So that's why I was saying earlier on, we're taking them very seriously.
Which in effect doesn't make any sense, because then it means that they're a law unto themselves, is, in other words, the medical aid. So, and this leads me to my question of some of the accusations that healthcare practitioners say that they're being forced to submit details of their patients' consultations to the medical aids. Discovery admitted to requesting it from healthcare practitioners, but said, that they're only required certain details on this document, not necessarily very personal details with regard to their member. But still, this is the confidentiality, the doctor-patient confidentiality clause that the doctors are very worried about. Does the Council for Medical Schemes have a policy on client and doctor confidentiality? And what is your view on asking for these details from the doctors, from medical aids?
Leanne, the patient-doctor confidentiality, it's part of the ethical and professional conduct that professionals are bound to, and these are largely regulated through the Health Professional Council of South Africa. But as professionals, we know that you cannot disclose any confidential clinical information to a third party unless specific circumstances exist. Like if you are subpoenaed and you go to court and you are forced to disclose, or if you disclose, you do that with the permission of the patient themselves. So we are very clear. It doesn't have to be articulated in the Act itself or the regulations. But I think it is now common knowledge that that is not allowed here.
Yeah. And yet the amount of doctors that have gotten hold of me on just just on my personal sort of accounts, whether it be Twitter or Facebook, and they've taken a screenshot of the exact letter that the medical aides have sent them requiring that information, the notes that they've taken from a patient, their diary, the times they've seen them. You know, so it seems that every single person who is feeling this has gotten the same letter. So this leads me to the question, what do you do about it? It is existing. I'm getting the evidence. Surely you've got the evidence as well in front of you, and you can intervene.
Leanne, we are now going to gather information. For instance, the blacklist that people have mentioned, the list of blocked practitioners. We're going to gather the information about these letters of request of information so that we can satisfy ourselves that the schemes and administrators are not going beyond the reasonable practice of just making sure that the claims that are put in front of them are legitimate or not.
Yeah.
Because they still have that duty to make sure that scheme monies are not wasted and paid to fraudulent practitioners. But they are not allowed to go beyond what is permissible by the Act and its regulations.
Yeah. Have you seen
that list? So we will
list?
be investigating these complaints.
Doctor, have you seen that list that is doing the rounds?
I have not seen the list personally, but I've spoken to Dr. Prudence Buthelezi, and I've asked for that list. And in addition, I've asked for, all the complaints that are related to Section 59 that they have lodged with the Council for Medical Schemes so that we can zoom in and check what has happened to those complaints. But certainly once we get all the information in terms of this blacklist, the blocked practitioners, and these letters that have been sent to service providers, we will then investigate this matter and take the appropriate action. Yeah.
Two quick fire questions to you. We've literally got a minute to answer these. By law, can medical aid schemes have the right to refuse payment to healthcare practitioners?
There's no provision in the Act that says schemes must stop paying practitioners. Instead, there's a clear process that's outlined that once an account is put, and if there are no issues of validity, it has to be paid. And where later there's discovery that perhaps there was fraud or, unethical practice, they've got a right to then recover or offset from the current claims.
Yeah.
But there's nothing in the Act and regulations that says schemes and medical administrators are empowered to stop payments.
Okay. And then my final
question. They should rather engage with the concerned parties.
My final question to you is the reverse of that. By law, can medical aid schemes dictate to patients as to which medical practitioner they can go and see and which they can't?
Medical schemes and administrators do have arrangements and options in schemes where there's a negotiated agreement between the scheme and the beneficiary that if you want to reduce, for instance, your premiums, there is this network of doctors that we think you should get your services from. And once that agreement is in place here, then the beneficiary has to access their services from those service providers. And if they go outside the agreement, there may be co-payments that are added onto their account.
Yeah, that in itself is a great worry. I think that is something that needs to be looked at. And now we're sitting in news headline time, so I unfortunately can't continue with this interview. But Dr. Kabane, I don't think this is the last time we're going to be speaking to you, because you yourself have said you've requested a lot of evidence, information, lists, letters, everything like that to do your investigation. Please, we invite you back as soon as you have something more to give us, because this needs to be taken further, and we certainly want to see what you're going to be doing about these allegations. That was Dr. Sipho Kabane, the Chief Executive and Registrar of the CMS, talking to us about those allegations against medical aid schemes that they are racist towards Black and Indian healthcare practitioners. Thanks again, Doctor, for joining us. All right.